Welcome to SoberSmash. SoberSmash. Get to the core issues with King Scott and Dr. Joe and get SoberSmashed.
Hey, welcome to our show. This is King Scott along with Dr. Joe, and we have a really good show for you today. We're talking about family matters, how addiction affects everyone around you, including your family. And we have some really cool guests in here today. We have Ken and Sean. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you both. Thank you for coming in. I know Dr. Joe and myself are real excited that you're here, and love to spend a little time with you talking today.
All right.
Sure do.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for joining us.
Thanks for inviting.
We have Ken and Sean here. And I guess we'll start off with you, Ken, a little bit. How about let's talk about present right now. How you feeling today? Your son is leaving tomorrow. How are you feeling today?
Well, there's always a little bit of doubt. I mean, that's just human nature. You know, how is it going to turn out? Families who have kids who've been addicted go through the I'm getting better, I'm not getting better, I'm going better, you know, and you want to believe. And my doubt is not that Sean can't achieve his goals and stay sober. It's just a natural feeling, I guess, that, you know, when you kick a horse, he kind of flinches if he gets kicked a lot. And I'm not a horse, I'm his father, but there's always that realistic sense of doubt, and I do believe he'll get better, and I believe he's serious about his sobriety now, but it's just a human natural feeling, I guess.
Sure, that's always part. Sean, how are you feeling today? Getting ready to graduate tomorrow and complete the program and go home with your folks. How are you feeling today?
I'm very mixed. I got a lot of mixed emotions. I've done this a few times before, and this time I feel different. I feel a lot different this time, and I know I've said that before, but it's never meant anything. You know, I guess, you know, I feel like I've kind of taken my hands off the wheel, and I'm letting those around me with a different perspective, you know, lead me in the direction that, even though I don't really want to go back to Oklahoma, I kind of feel like I failed in Florida, but I haven't failed. I've learned a lot from this past year, and
Well, maybe it's you have a new perspective on life.
yeah, that's definitely.
Let's look at it a year ago, what you were thinking and what you were doing and what you've accomplished today and where you're heading. So maybe it's a new outlook on life. Your head's clear and you're ready to conquer the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, and it's refreshing to kind of to get to know myself. It's not like I'm going back to who I used to be, but it's someone else, and like that person is dead. Even the person before using, because I was using addict behaviors, but like
Right.
even before the drugs came in the picture. Now I'm getting to know me, who I really am.
Well, it all starts with you have to love yourself. You really do. You have to
Right.
like what you're all about. And I'm sure before that wasn't you. You were being somebody that you're really not. And Ken, let's talk about that, you know, and how this all became with Sean when, you know, he was going through addiction, and when did you notice this, and how has it really affected the family?
It is horrible.
Because there's a lot of people
Hit me
out
between the
there-
eyes with a ball peen hammer. That would feel better than the
Really?
pain.
Really?
And it's just not me. I've got friends who family members, and outside friends whose sons and daughters have become addicts, and it's a living hell. My feelings. I mean, they could be talking for me, and I could be talking for them. That's the thing we have in common, and the thing that we share is the possibility for hope. And I say this about Sean now: we came and saw him earlier last year, and we would spend a day with him, and he was in a different treatment facility, and we'd spend a day with you. And it was like, you were in a daze.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, just in a daze.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're still high. He wasn't getting high at the treatment facility, but he acted not clear-headed, and his thinking wasn't right. And we even remember we went and saw a movie, and we went to saw a movie, and it was fun. But I was like,
It wasn't your son.
No, today he is.
Right.
He's clear-headed, and the times we have talked since his last relapse, but since he came to this facility here, he's much more clear-headed, and his thought process is better. And when we've talked to him on the phone, same. And I can say that he didn't seem that way where he was before. So I can see that he's progressed and he's getting better and moving in the direction that he wants to go. And that's a thing that we have to learn as parents, to kind of back off and you got to fix it.
Sure.
I can't fix it for you.
Yes. Sean's got to create his own future with the help of others. Sean, I like the way you said that you took your hands off the wheel. And that's kind of an indication of what we might call surrender, where you're like, you know what, there's professionals here. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of experience. Maybe I should let them help plan my next step. And that's usually a great point in a person's recovery, is when they surrender. Surrender is a big word in AA and NA. It means, you know what, I can't do this anymore. All of my great choices obviously haven't turned out well. Therefore, I'm going to allow the people who I trust, who I believe have experience that can help me, and I'm going to listen to their feedback, and I'm going to make my plan along with them instead of my own plan, because Lord knows my own plan didn't work.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I've done two things that have helped me a lot. One of them is I joined an Al-Anon group. It's an all-men's group in Oklahoma City.
Beautiful.
And these guys, I mean, they tell it like it is. I mean, somebody's talking about, oh, this and my baby's that. Dry it up, dude. You got to let him fix himself. You got to pull back. You can either let go or you're going to be drugged to death by the rope. These kind of conversations we have, and they're not heartless. The other thing that I did that was really good is I'm reading the big book, the big AA book. And you read a story in there, and you read like Bob's story. I forget who all's in it, but you go, this dude's gonna die. He ain't gonna make it. He's been in and out of treatment centers, and he's lost his job. He lost his big Wall Street job, and he went to Canada, lost that job, and now he's, this dude he relapsed again on alcohol. And you're just ready to read the last page where they buried him, with the rest of them. But that's not what happens. He finds his higher power. And it gives me hope as a dad. And it should give hope to everybody. Oops, let me turn that thing off. Let me turn that off. Sorry, I did not do that. But it gives you hope that people can get well. And it's a book I think that all addicts should read, and parents as well. It's helped me as a dad to understand addiction better, understand, they use the word higher power. I look at God. He is my higher power. And without God's help, you just turn it over, and I can't say how you turn it over, but it just happens. And I've turned it over for me. And those two things I would highly recommend to all parents.
Amen. Yes, that's right.
Going to an Al-Anon group can be one of the greatest blessings you can give to your loved one that's struggling with addiction. Unfortunately, most parents that have siblings or children in treatment don't go to Al-Anon, even though we strongly urge it. Now, a men's Al-Anon group is also very specialized. What does it feel like being in a group of men sharing about the addiction of your loved ones? Because as men, we don't share a lot.
Even before that, Dr. Joe, Ken, when you first found out that there was an issue with Sean with addiction, did your family get together and say, this can't happen to us? Mm-hmm. This isn't us. This isn't our family. This doesn't happen to people like us.
The first thing I'll address, Dr. Joe, the Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, men sharpen men. There's things you get from a man you don't get from a woman. She's going to give you the sympathy or the honey or quit crying or whatever it is. But a man is a different perspective. In a men's Al-Anon group, it's that way. And we're not a bunch of heathens and a bunch of Vikings. You know, we listen, we talk, we bring it out, and we talk through it. There's prominent people in my group, prominent people in my group, to, you know, guys that are just working with their hands. They're doing it every day. So you get a good variety of thought from that. And I appreciate that. What was your question?
Did you ever get to that stage when you found out, you know, there was an issue that this doesn't happen to families like us?
We went through that, you know, and we realized that is...
Because I'm sure there's people listening right now and listening to your story saying, you know what? He's just like us. We're no different. And we have those problems, and we don't want to address it because this can't be happening to us.
Well, I've learned to turn my life totally to God's will. And if I have that attitude, which I used to have, then I'm looking down at people, and that's not the way Christ wants me to look at people. Cheryl and my wife, our hearts are wide open. When we see people, young kids and adults, walking the streets, they got, first sign is a backpack, usually, or on a bike.
Right.
And when we see them, our hearts are out to them. We've been doing things to donate at halfway houses, the Jesus House in Oklahoma City, Salvation Army, which is a great outlet for guys. You know, if you can give money, give something to those people, because they get them off the street. They try to get them help. We've done things like that, and we're doing things like that. And I don't know if I want to broadcast this on the air, but my wife and I are looking at possibly offering free rides to treatment centers, not necessarily treatment centers, but to their meetings.
Yes.
And we want to. That could be a 24/7 job for us, but we want to start off and maybe offer it to, hey, you guys can't get a ride, call me, and we'll just do no charge. We're going to help you.
That's great.
So we've come off our high and mighty horse, and it's a rough ride if you're there, because you hold grudges. You don't look at people realistically. You don't look at them through Christ's eyes. I see Christ in everyone, and he loves them as much as he loves me. So my wife and I both want to do these things, to try to give back a bit and encourage others to do that too. We've got friends from, I won't say because this is on the air, but we've got people that were raised in saintly homes that's got an addict. We've got friends that I worked through in the fire service that their kid, they're rich and they got money because he's a chief, you know, and their son is, he went the circle. He went from living on a street, getting his legs broke for money, to changing his life. That was his rock bottom, and his dad wouldn't take him back until he got help. But he's okay now. He's in good shape.
Good deal. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but just a reminder, if anybody has any questions for Ken or Sean, please write in, and we'll be right back.
Is that it?
Right? No, that's just commercial.
Treatment Partners of America is a unique, state-of-the-art substance abuse facility. Our trained professionals first focus on finding the core issues in trauma that lead to addiction, with some of the best doctors, nurses, and behavioral health techs the industry has to offer. We offer personalized one-on-one therapy 5 days a week, raising the bar to a higher level of standards. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, gambling, sex and love addiction, or even relationship addiction, Treatment Partners of America has specialists to treat and to help heal your addiction long-term rather than attempt a temporary 30-day quick fix.
Welcome back to SoberSmash. We have today Ken and his son Sean, and Sean's about to graduate the program at Treatment Partners of America, and we're all very excited. He's done so well. He worked the program, he gave it 110%, and did a complete turnaround from day one, and we are all proud of him. All proud. Good job.
Good job, Sean.
Great job. You know, Ken, I know you're from Oklahoma City, and I know it's tough out there. You are a firefighter, and we thank you for that, for your service. And tell us a little about that, what it's like in Oklahoma City.
Well, unfortunately, our state has got in the top 10 for drug overdoses, and there's not a lot of information for families. I've written our Senator Tom Cole and asked him for help. And I wrote him a lengthy letter concerning the lack of knowledge that's for Oklahomans. How do we know? I mean, unfortunately, parents, loved ones are at the. If you're not educated, you don't know what's happening with drug abuse. For Oklahomans, how do we know? I mean, unfortunately, parents. Technical difficulties.
Sounds like it.
There's not enough education for us. And I think if there was more education for families on recognizing the early signs of drug abuse, and because you're going to believe your loved one. What's wrong? Oh, I'm just tired. Well, why are your eyes so pinpointing? I don't know. It's just feeling strange. I'm okay, Dad. You know, and I won't go into a whole lot with what we observed in Sean, but what I observed in Sean is observed by so many parents that believe their loved ones because they want to believe that they're doing right. They can't believe that their loved one is getting into drugs. We taught him better than that. And he's not a bad guy for it. It's just what happens to him, you know.
Sure.
But what we need is education. There needs to be more education for loved ones to recognize what's happening.
I think there needs to be more awareness.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And we're trying to do that throughout the country through an organization called Sober Life Foundation. And basically going out there and educating people in the school system. Because it really starts, you know, in the schools at a young age. And also educating the families.
Yeah, they try.
The parents, you know, like you just mentioned, some people just are not aware of their surroundings. Mm-hmm. Looking at their children, seeing them run out the door and not realizing where they're going.
Well, they have DARE programs, and those don't work. I mean, they've dropped them out of many school systems. It needs to go into the PTA meetings.
Absolutely.
Because the PTA meetings is where the parents are.
Great place.
And it needs to go to the state level. The Oklahoma State Department of Health would be a good place for resources, because then if you have questions, I seen this in my loved one, they can hook you up with the right people, maybe a doctor, a therapist, a counselor,
Sure.
And then they can give you lists of rehab centers, detox centers. In Oklahoma City area, we searched them, and some of them will detox you on just barbiturates, and some will only do them on these other things. And if you're using both, you have to go to one and then go to the other. And it's unfortunate because you got to jump on it. Like, I was a fireman for 40 years. You let a fire burn very long, it gets out of control. When you suspect, in my mind, you suspect drug abuse in the home, you got to jump on it quick or it can get out of hand before you know it. And there's not that for parents. There's not like it should be. And however you need to get it there, it needs to. And that was some part of what I wrote to Tom Cole. And he sent me a reply, and he talked about the new laws in Obamacare and some things that they're doing now, and giving money to states to help with the drug addiction. And you see what's happening in New Jersey, you see it in Pennsylvania, you see it in all these states where heroin is just exploding. When I was a kid,
it's bad. Heroin
was like the drug you didn't go to.
Right.
I mean, it was like, no way would I ever do that.
Right. Now it's readily available, and it's so cheap.
Like candy bars.
Absolutely. I was in Detroit a couple weeks ago, and it's just as bad there.
Well, and so that's what I'm trying to do in my state, and I want to do something there. I want to get with the Oklahoma Department of Health and try to set something up so it's like a hotline.
Well, we'll be glad to assist you in any way we can. We'd love to help.
Well, thank you.
We really would. Yeah, if it takes us flying out there and sitting down with the senators and trying to get something passed through, we'll be glad to.
I'm glad
to assist you.
And you can keep busy at 50 states.
Yes.
We'll do one state at a time.
Yeah.
That's our goal. We want to save lives, and that's what we do here.
Well, it's the Black Plague was bad. It got everyone, but this gets the innocent so quickly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
My son is a good kid, and I love him.
Yes.
he's a great kid. How does he look to you today?
He's not a kid anymore; he's an adult.
You're-
He looks like a
you're
man.
right.
Yeah, he is, and I'm proud of him. But you know what? The battle just started.
Yes.
When you leave the doors of any treatment facility you're in, the battle begins.
Well, it's the aftercare plan, and that's something that we work with Sean and make sure that there is a plan and start your life.
Right.
You have a lot to live for.
Right.
Do you feel like you have a good plan, Sean?
Yes, and it's because I think it's good because I didn't come up with it.
Okay.
I've been coming up with these plans, and they allowed that reservation in the back of my mind to flourish, and it's not like I have one today.
Yes.
Like I said, something's different, but I think it's following the suggestions of you guys who are qualified and have seen it before, and also you've helped me identify this cycle that I've been in, and it's been very repetitive, and it's the behaviors and everything that I revert to before leaving treatment. They're very similar, and it just led me to go out and do the same thing over and over again. And this time I'm doing something different, even though it's not necessarily what I want to do, but I think it's right. If I don't want to do it, most likely I need to do it.
Very good. It's a great way to look at
If
it.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Ken, could you talk about denial a little bit? Because that's what you were talking about earlier. Do you remember going into denial when you first thought Sean might have a problem? And denial is a protective mechanism. If I go into denial, it means I don't have to deal with what's going on. Can you tell me, did you have a period in your life where you had denial about Sean?
It was more like, here's this kid who's accepted in the Naval Academy. Here's this kid who was top 3% of his graduating class of almost 1,000. Here's this kid who was a varsity baseball player. Nah, not him.
Yes.
I don't believe it.
Can't be. Yeah.
Maybe he's been drinking.
Yes. Yeah.
That's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
But
yeah.
it's not okay.
So they say,
is
of
it?
course it's not.
It's not. So my denial wasn't that I guess he's too good for that, I guess, if you sum it up.
Sure.
So that was part of my thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe nothing would have been different. Maybe if you hit me between the eyes with a ball bat, I still would have said, no, not him.
Right.
Nope.
Well, and like you, Scott, you asked earlier about not, like a family saying, well, not my kid. Like,
Right.
That's not. Well, I felt like I was on the other end of that.
Right.
And I was growing, I started out with one thing, and I began to say, that's not me. There's no way. I'm not an addict. Like, I see them, and I see them, and I see them stealing, and I'm like, oh, I haven't done that. But it was always yet, and it progresses so quickly, and I was in denial the whole time. I'm not an addict. I could stop anytime I want.
Where was the breaking point when you were in treatment at TPA where you finally felt like, you know what, I get this is working?
It's a good question. I think the breaking point
Like when that light bulb went off.
was when I crawled back into these doors on my own behalf. Like, it was I was sent here before, not on, I had nowhere to go. I had, my halfway wanted me to come, like my insurance, this, that, like, it's different reasons for some people, and it was on my behalf. It was like my attitude, and then it did develop, and I saw breaking points like along the way. Sitting, with my therapist and with, doing EMDR sessions, and really, like, my mind, I became open-minded. That's honestly, it's like an attitude. And I wasn't closed-minded. I was willing to hear people out, whether or not it made sense to me, and be open-minded to let that sink in. And like, if I come in and I'm like for instance, if I'm saying, well, I'm going to have, a bad day, well, then you're going to have a bad day. If you're open to the idea of, having a good day or learning something you don't know before, that's kind of something, like my attitude was definitely different from the get-go. I can't really say one point. It's the whole time I've been here, I've been getting little jewels along the way, little wisdom that's built up, and it's coming from all of these resources that you guys have with the therapists and through the groups and even on the weekends and everything. It's just this whole time, but I think it was really from the beginning when I came in, humble. I was humble. I had been humiliated to the extent where, my bones were picked by homeless people in Delray. Like so much happened to me where I was humiliated, walking bare feet, leaving the hospital in a nightgown naked. Like, you don't get worse than that for me. I'd never been there, and all the things, like I said, well, this hasn't happened to me yet. I haven't overdosed yet. Everything happened eventually, and that yet has just yet to come if you continue to use.
What advice do you have for someone that's listening right now saying, you know what, Sean sounds a lot like me. I think, I'm that guy he was talking that he used to be. What would you say to him?
I would definitely don't whoever is thinking that, well, that can't be me, that person who overdoses, that's not me, that's not going to be me. I'm smart about my use. I'm smart. It's in control. Like, I promise you, I thought the same thing. That won't be me. I won't turn to this. I won't do that. This won't happen to me. It happens, like, so quickly. And every relapse that you go through gets worse. You will never get... The time before, it will never be like that. No matter how bad it is or good it is, it will never be like that. It will progressively get worse. Every relapse gets worse. You lose more. The runs that you go on, they shorten up. Your resources run out. You burn bridges, and eventually you have nowhere to turn. And just don't get to that point where you're alone and all you want to do is die, because that is you don't have to hit that bottom. Like, there's no such, for me, there was no such thing as rock bottom besides 6 feet deep, and you don't want to get there. Right. I mean, you can't come back from death. There is light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how small it may be. The further you come, the bigger it gets, and the more
but that's a hard step to take for a lot of people. That's a tough step. It's you were big to walk through the doors. It's a big step you took, and look what you've accomplished.
Yeah, I never thought I would be here today in this mindset.
I'm sure your dad, even when he saw you before you came in, said, you can't live like this. You just can't do this.
I mean, you may ask me my questions about doubt. I said doubt. You do 40 years in the fire department,
and you've probably seen everything. I mean, things that we can't even imagine.
You see people die of drug overdoses, alcohol overdose. To me, the worst I've ever seen of a drug-related or poisoning, alcohol poisoning.
Yes.
I've seen people die of alcohol poisoning. I said to our guys as we put our gear back in the rescue truck, that is the worst way to die. You're rolling around in your own vomit. You're rolling when you're in convulsions. You're having seizures. You don't know where you're at. You're flailing. The persons that I've seen like that are tremendously horrible. I've seen people die of drug overdoses. And it's a sad, lonely way to go. And so, my doubts, I mean, I believe in Sean. I believe in God. There's an almighty power above us that he can change us if we want to. But I believe that Sean can change. And those are some of the things that I've seen. I can tell you a lot of stories, but I don't have time.
Yes.
Well,
and one last thing, real quick, I'll make it. The other thing, all parents out there, you got to realize this thing they call tough love. Man, that's tough. You got to do what's right. You can't back down. and stick to a plan that you decide it's going to work to help your son, daughter, grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever it is. Because if you keep it up, you're going to kill them.
Very good point.
It is. We're going to take a quick break and be right back, and we'll take questions. Thanks. Is the most rewarding feeling one could ever have.
Clients need physical, social, spiritual, mental, and intellectual knowledge.
I get to see the miracle and the change within a client from the time that they come in till the time they discharge.
We are Treatment Partners of America.
Your partner in recovery.
Okay, welcome back. We have Ken and Sean in today. We're talking about family matters and how addiction affects the whole family. People think it's just, my child, the loved ones addicted to drugs, and that's it. And mom and dad go about their normal lives, and their siblings just keep doing what they're doing. Not so true. It affects everyone, and I'm sure Ken can just relate to that. I'm sure you've been through a lot. Your life changed right away, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it has. And I don't want to go into too much. I don't want to make my son feel bad, because that's not, he's going into a different chapter, a better chapter. No, this isn't the past.
Right. I think it was a big learning experience for Sean, and he's been through a lot, and makes him the man he is today.
Right.
Well, me and his mom are big people. We can handle this.
Absolutely.
We can handle it now better than we used to. Seeing him better is great. And it makes us feel confident and better and hopeful and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Sean's got a good plan put together, and if he follows the plan, rarely have we seen anybody fail.
What's the old saying about the best laid plans of mice and men?
Yeah.
You got to stick to it.
That's it. Yeah, we're confident Sean can do it.
Well, I like this place. I know he does.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I mean, I can see a difference, and I'm not going to rip into any other treatment facilities. He was the one he came here for. Initially, Sean chose it, and we were kind of laughing about it because he's, it's Florida, sun, beaches, and I can get help there, and it was okay, but it didn't work as well as this one does. As a parent, here's what I want. I want accessibility. I don't want to know his private stuff. Every time I called, I got a call back pretty quick. Sometimes at the other facility he was at, they forgot you. We sent packages to his other facility that he was, and it got stolen by the techs that worked there. And they were supposed to be a really big, time. We've done celebrities and all this, and the thing that I like here is that if we have a question for Chablis or for Django or for the multiple Scots that seem to be floating around there, we in a very timely manner. Sometimes I've dialed the facility and it was next to Scott's, which Scott, the finance guy here. And he called me back. Hey Ken, I'm off duty here. I'm at home. What can I do to help you? I'm like, dude, it's like 9:00 there. The last place he was at, you might get a return call if you're lucky. Yeah. And for a parent, let me tell you something. That's what we need. I don't want to know all his personal things that he's doing here. I want to know he's well fed. He's doing okay. He's making progress. Hey Ken, it's all right. We're working on him. And that's what I want to hear. Me and my wife refrain from the personal things. What's he doing? How's he getting, my poor baby? We didn't do that here. and we just stepped back. And I think the thing that makes this place so valuable for us as a parent is the accessibility, that we can contact, we'll get answers from Katie at the desk all the way down, or all the way up, whichever way that flows.
Well, and for me, I've been to a couple of treatment centers, and I don't know why. It's just, it could be my willingness and my, me being open and putting myself out there. And but this place is, I relapsed, and I had, I could have gone to multiple places. Really I could have gone anywhere I wanted to, but for some reason, something about the staff here, the people, I don't know what y'all do to how you hire the therapists and everyone who works here, but y'all, you really get some gems. And
thank you very much.
Honestly, that's why I came back. It wasn't the facility, it's great, but it wasn't what, the recreational things, it wasn't the food, all of that's great, but really, this place has the best therapist that I have ever worked with in my life.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's great to hear.
And I felt safe, to open myself up, because you get vulnerable whenever you your walls start to come down and you get to know who you are. And a lot of people, they put their arms out, arms length out. They want to distance themselves even from a therapist who you're really not supposed to do that with. But I felt safe to get to know who I really am.
And that was important, that you felt safe with the staff here.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm such a different person than, you guys ask, what was that breaking point? It's that vulnerability and that ability to, let the walls fall and get to know people as who I really am, and not feel judged, and not feel, to be safe.
Got a question here for Ken. It's from Marcy, 21, Texas. She says, my 18-year-old daughter's staying out late at night with older guys coming home smelling like alcohol. What do I do?
You got to go with what you believe. I've said this to friends of mine without bringing up Sean's name. If you have an inkling of doubt that your son, daughter, your loved one, because now we say loved one include even old people. Yes. If you have an inkling of doubt, treat it as though it's happening. You can't doubt it. Because if you do, like I've said earlier, with a house fire, you let it burn for just a little bit, you got the whole neighborhood on fire before you know it. And that neighborhood is your family. It is your friends going to be hearing your sad story about my son, daughter. It affects everything. So I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't doubt it for 1 second. Now, she's 18. She's a grown-ass adult, isn't she? You can only give up so much advice. If she lives in your home, well, then you have a little more say-so than the one that lives on, on their own. But you got to treat it as though it's the real thing. And like the old saying, do you believe me or do you believe your lying eyes?
There you go.
You cannot doubt that.
Well, that's great advice. I want to thank both of you for being here today. Ken, pleasure meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
Great family you have. Sean, we're real proud of you.
Thank you guys for everything.
We're always here.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right.
Wrap in the can, baby.